Let's talk about one of the biggest frustrations we all face: motivation. We're going to completely reframe how you think about it and show you how to win the game by understanding the simple, powerful brain chemistry at play.
So let's just dive right into the question that probably brought you here. You get that incredibly jolt of inspiration. You're ready to conquer the world. And then, a few days later, maybe even a few hours later, you're right back on the couch. Why does that amazing feeling of motivation always fade away?
Well, here's the thing. The problem isn't you, it's the strategy you've been taught. We've all been told to chase that feeling of motivation. But here's the hard truth. It's just a fleeting emotion. It's completely unreliable. Trying to build your goals on it is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. And that leads us directly into what we're going to call the motivation trap. It's this vicious cycle so many of us are stuck in, and trust me, understanding it is the absolute first step to getting out. Okay, this slide right here breaks down the core misunderstanding perfectly. On the left, you've got what we think the formula is. You feel motivated, and then you take action. Simple, right? But look at what's actually happening in your brain. That feeling we call motivation is really just a spike of a chemical called dopamine. And every single spike is inevitably followed by a crash, which leads you right back to, you guessed it, inaction. And here's the kicker, the part that sounds totally backwards. The very act of chasing that motivated feeling is exactly what's keeping you stuck in that loop. Let's really break down why that is. So, why does this common strategy fail so spectacularly? Well, it comes down to a few key neurochemical traps that are basically hardwired into our brains. First off, like we just saw, it's just a temporary dopamine high. It's not built to last. Next, your brain actually gets a little dopamine hit just from thinking about doing the work, which ironically reduces your drive to actually do it. This leads to dependence, where you feel like you need to feel good before you can act. And over time, you build a tolerance, needing bigger and bigger motivational videos or pep talks just to get going. And maybe the worst one, you train yourself to avoid the very discomfort that is absolutely essential for any real progress. And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the mindset of people who get things done. I mean, you don't wait to feel inspired to brush your teeth, right? Of course not. You just do it. It's a non-negotiable part of your routine. The goal is to make your important actions just like that, completely separate from how you happen to be feeling in the moment. Okay, so if chasing motivation is the trap, what in the world is the solution? Well, the key to escaping it, the real game changer, is something called dopamine control. This is how we take our power back. So what is it? Put simply, dopamine control is the ability to take action whether you feel like it or not. It's the superpower of decoupling your behavior from your emotions. It's the fundamental difference between people who consistently achieve their goals and those who stay stuck forever, just waiting to feel ready. The entire system hinges on this one concept, your dopamine baseline. Think of it as your default level of drive and ambition. When it's high, normal everyday work feels engaging. But when it's constantly being crashed by overstimulation, social media, junk food, binge watching, that baseline plummets, making real, productive work feel like an absolutely unbearable chore. Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Let's get practical. Here is your toolkit of concrete strategies you can use to start managing your dopamine system instead of being managed by it. Here are 3 really powerful techniques to get you started. First, a dopamine detox. This just means cutting way back on the cheap artificial dopamine hits to let your baseline naturally recover. Second, dopamine scheduling. You deliberately structure your day so that the reward always comes after the effort. You're teaching your brain that effort is what earns the good stuff. And third, cold exposure. Simple things like ending your shower with cold water can give you a long, sustained dopamine release and, crucially, build your tolerance for discomfort. And this right here is a massive mental shift. Instead of only celebrating the final outcome, the "I finished the project" moment, you have to start rewarding the effort itself. When you tell yourself, hey, good job for working for 30 minutes, you actually release dopamine during the work. This literally rewires your brain to start enjoying the process, not just the finish line. This all leads to adopting what we're calling the anti-motivation mindset, and it starts with eliminating one simple question from your internal dialogue. Do I feel like it? That question is totally irrelevant. It gives all your power to a temporary emotion that has no bearing on your long-term goals. Instead, you're going to replace it with this, a far more powerful question. Is this action aligned with the person I want to become? You see how that shifts everything? It takes the focus off of a fleeting feeling and puts it onto your core identity, which is a much, much more stable and powerful driver of your behavior.
Now we get to the most critical, actionable part of this entire thing. If you remember absolutely nothing else, please remember this section on the first 5 minutes of any task.
This is it, the single most important idea to get into your head. We have it completely backward. We think we need motivation in order to act. The truth is that action creates motivation. It's a result, a byproduct of just getting started. You know why the start is so hard? It's because your brain hasn't gotten that dopamine signal yet. But if you can just force yourself through that initial resistance, those first 5 minutes, your brain recognizes the effort and begins to release the very chemicals that make you want to continue. You don't find motivation, you literally create it. And look, this isn't just theory. Look at the tangible results you can expect. Within a week of practicing this, you'll feel less impulsive. By week 2, your baseline dopamine actually rises, and things start to feel less like a chore. By week 3, you'll find yourself just taking action without that big internal argument. And by about a month in, you'll realize you don't even think about motivation anymore. You are simply self-directed. So here is your challenge. Don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one technique we've talked about. Just one. Start it tomorrow. Not next week, not when you feel like it, tomorrow. And just practice taking that one action without waiting for the feeling to show up. And let's end on this final thought. If you struggled with motivation, I want you to really hear this. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You've simply been playing the wrong game. It was never about a character flaw. It was about a strategic error. And now you have the tools to fix it. Stop chasing motivation and start mastering dopamine control.